Hello everybody at home. Hello everybody here in Sherman Oaks. You guys? Tom? Okay, thank you everybody. So today is January 21st, 2026. It's 7 o'clock exactly on the button. Thank you all for coming. This is the Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association, and we have a bunch of people at home on Zoom as well. What do we have?
Keeps going up, I can't even tell.
Okay, we'll let you know later. Well,
yeah.
Hello everybody at home. You just did another great meal, so shame on you. So first off, I'd like to have Brad. Can you come on up here? Did everybody enjoy the meal at Chick-fil-A? So, if you want to grab the microphone. Brad is the owner. He's not the owner's son. He's the owner. He is the, him and his wife back there, they're the owners, and they've got their little kid.
She just stepped out, so she's invisible right now.
So that was a great deal, thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
We are so happy to have the remodel, Corky's building, a historic landmark, completely remodeled by you.
Yes, thank you very much.
I know that was a very easy process working through the city and working with you. But
breeze. I'd love to do it again.
Well, welcome to Sherman Oaks. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about the restaurant. Why other than the good food, what else should we know?
Yeah, first off, I just want to say thank you to everyone here. You've been very hospitable to me and welcoming of my family, my wife, and hopefully got to meet her and my daughter Zoe. So just thank you for welcoming me with open arms. I was born and raised in San Diego, but I've been a Southern California native my whole entire life. We've lived in LA for close to 10 years now. The Sherman Oaks area has been our home for over 6 now. So I always tell people, like, this is my home too. Like, when I meet folks in the restaurant, like, this is a special place to me. This is home for us, right? And so it means a lot to meet so many of you folks who lived here for many years, and I couldn't just be more grateful to be a part of this really awesome community. I would say, if you haven't had a chance yet to come check out the restaurant, obviously we're across the street, but it's just a very unique and special location, not only within Sherman Oaks, but within the greater LA area. I won't bore you with a million details about all the kind of the cool facts about the restaurant, but I'm there every day, so come check it out. I'd love to kind of talk. I'm happy to talk as much as you want to know about the details and the history of the restaurant. But just a quick snippet. I'll say a couple facts that most people do not know about the building. But it was originally built in 1958, so many years ago. Most people today remember it as Corky's, because that's what it was most recently. For show of hands, who has been to Corky's? I love it. So it's been.
How about Corky's Bar?
Yeah, there you go. Only once, right? No. So originally it was called. Does anyone know? Since we're Chick-fil-A, we'd like to give out 3 things.
Tammy's hands up.
Tammy's hand. What was the building originally called in 1958?
Oh, it wasn't the lamplighter?
No. Before the lamplighter. Penny, no, that's cheating. I know she knows. You'll still get free food. Anyone else?
Stanley Burke's Coffee Shop.
Yes, Stanley Burke's Coffee House.
All right. Isn't ChatGPT fantastic? Yo!
So if you're ever at a restaurant, if you go to the back, outside of the wall, there's going to be 4 S's on the building. And every single person, every day comes, what are those 4 S's? What are those 4 S's? And so that's a symbol of Stanley Burke, the original name of the restaurant. So kind of the unique details about the building. But anyways, yes, just again, thank you for me and my wife and my daughter. Just we're happy to be, this is our home, and we couldn't be more grateful to be a part of this place.
Let's hear it for Brad and Thanks, Brad. All right. So next month, Jane, stand up. Oh, Jane's standing up right now. Wave to everybody. Jane's my wife. Jane's also our food committee chair. And next month, I'm not going to tell you who the restaurant of the month is next month, but you guys at home, you should come because it's a new restaurant in Sherman Oaks, and it's the first time Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association is going to host this cuisine, this type of cuisine. So we hope to see you. And we also just in case you guys, we actually, should I say who our guest is going to be next month, or should we wait? Okay. So next month, it's somebody who has not been here for a long time, and he's going to give a report on what's happening in Washington, D.C. I'll give you a little hint. Tell me if you know who I'm talking about. They'll probably bring a comb. Oh, you guys know the guy, okay. Yeah. And if he says something like this town was named after him, don't laugh. Okay. Can I have our board members come on up here? So I'm really excited. We've got a great board. We always have a great board, but we've got a few new board members, and they're going to introduce themselves as well for you guys. We have, I think only one is not here tonight. Am I right? I don't know. Come on, Joe. Here's our first two new board members. Howard, you come on up too. Because the first three of these are all new board members. Go ahead and grab the mic. Introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Joan Pellico. Thank you. I brought my family. Anyway, so I'm finally a board member, and I'm so honored to be a part of SOHA. And I will be working with government relations. And with that, I do want to tell you, in case you haven't heard or you don't remember, the U.S. Postal Service.
What is that?
U.S. Postal Service? Yep. So, it's about postmark, right. When you think that when you put your mail in the mail, that it's postmarked that day, that's not the way it's going to happen. It's once it goes through the machine. So I tell you that, so when taxes come up, you go a few days earlier, but if you go into the post office, you can ask one of the representatives to stamp that date. So that's the news for me.
Aren't we lucky to have Joan now that you guys know that? Our next newest board member, Tammy Shearer.
Tammy Shearer, for those of you who don't know me, I'm also just coming off of a 6-year stint of being a board chair of the Sherman Oaks-Encino Chamber of Commerce, which I'm still on board. I also started a local charter high school called Champs Charter High School, so we have a performing arts high school in the valley. And I'm also on the board of Kiwanis, and I'm on the board of United Chambers, so a little busy.
And Tammy's going to be our connection with business liaison and Los Angeles Police Department, law enforcement. Yeah. So we're honored to have you. Howard?
Hi, Howard Jaffe. I've recently been put on the board, and I'm going to co-chair the Homeless Committee. I take a very tactical approach to this problem. I'm in and out trying to locate the homeless, specifically the ones who might be causing issues, and see if we can get them help and possibly get them housing and off the streets. I need input from all members of the community because I can't cover this whole area myself. So if you've got an issue, I'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Howard.
And I also lead a cleaning group twice a week with volunteers cleaning communities. So if anyone feels like they need some exercise, come on out and join us.
Thank you.
Can I say twice a week?
So if you guys have a homeless issue that you either want to get involved with or that you want to report, you can send it. If you don't have Howard's contact information, you can send it to us at SOHA, the SOHA email, and we'll forward it over to Howard.
Hi, Maria Calvin, and I chair the Legislative Committee, and we should have an exciting year again this year, so I hope all of you will help me out. You're all great. Thank you.
Hold on. Before I introduce the next, or if he introduces himself, Bob Anderson got a great, some good news as of tomorrow, hopefully. So he's been working, as you guys all know, because he gives you guys reports all the time about the Metro line, the subway, between the Valley and the West Side. And I don't know why he thought that the Valley should have more than 2 subway stops. That's all we have right now is 2 subway stops. for the entire valley. But he's been fighting and working to get that subway through Sepulveda. And tomorrow, the MTA board is going to be voting, and they are going to be voting on a plan that Bob and his group has been working with. So congratulations to Bob.
It's been a slog and it's not over, but what Metro did is, after spending, about $250 million studying the project, and coming
That's
up
$250 million, about $2 billion.
$250 million, and coming up with 5 concepts, Jeff and I and a bunch of people started looking at it and said, none of these make any sense or they're really any good. I mean, So we suggested another one. If all goes well tomorrow, that's the one we're going to pick. It's interesting. It is a subway under Van Nuys Boulevard, and it goes all the way to the Orange Line and north to the Metrolink station at near Home Depot up on Van Nuys. And they got a unanimous support almost from everybody who called into the meeting last week. And this is the board meeting. I don't think anything will change. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. It ain't perfect, but it's so much better than anything, and it doesn't run above Sepulveda Boulevard, and it doesn't interfere with a water main under Sepulveda Boulevard, and it's got the new modern technology. The one they designed used 40-year-old technology, and it was like, it doesn't hold enough people. Well, and so Jeff and I said, why don't you put one together that just takes the technology that you have on 5 and move it to 6, and that's what they did. So we're very happy with that. I'm not going to leave them alone. I'll still pick on them about a lot of things, like the cost, which is about $30 billion. And I don't know where it's coming from. We'll keep our fingers crossed. So thank you very much for all your support, everything you said.
Thank you, Bob. So by the way, Maria and Jeff and I were at the Van Nuys City Hall this morning for a news conference that all the electeds put on about the new Metro line. And I think that they were quoting 40 billion or 44 billion, not 30. So it's gone up already, and they haven't been approved yet. But anyway, it's on the road, and in all of our lifetimes, we're going to be riding it real soon, you guys.
Yeah, you can, I'll only be 107 by the time it's done, but I'm going to get on the damn thing.
Come on, be waiting for it.
Hi, my name is Kelly Lynch. I'm your beautification co-chair, and I'm happy to tell you that once again this year in spring, we're going to do another Shine LA event. We had a great event last year, great turnout. This year, we're going to hopefully have even more. And we're going to hopefully have a date to announce next week.
Awesome, thank you, Kelly.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jay Weitzler. I'm on a number of committees, one of which is the Hillside Federation. And the news is, we discussed last night, was pretty good, not quite as good as Bob's, or maybe in a different way. I hate to get in the habit of complimenting the City Council, but the City Council unanimously decided to support much more flexible and much less draconian Zone 0 regulations that the State Board of Forestry is going to impart to us about landscaping your home and taking, theoretically, all vegetation within 5 feet of your home out, as well as many other things. The council has decided that it's much too draconian for us, and apparently we'll be able to get some flexibility in the implementation of the law, which is terrific. So we can have it go with our property rather than San Francisco's or some other places' properties. Secondly, as you know, we're always here. We always have here Lisa Turchin and Sally Sagan from the Buckley School. Lisa's the CFO, Sally's the Director of Marketing and Communications. And they are supportive, as we are of them, since they are a fine local private school. Thank you. Oh, and also, I happen to be secretary of the organization. I forgot that.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Larry Slade. I spent the last couple of years as chair of the Homelessness Committee. I'm now working with Howard, and I'm happy to have him on board. He's got a tremendous amount of energy, for the topic. I'm going to be moving a little bit more into land use issues, but I have a question that I want to ask everyone. I want to take a quick informal poll. There's a lot of money being spent and a lot of research being done, and a lot of laws being passed in the state of California, specifically in Los Angeles, designed to get us onto public transit. How many of you can envision yourself riding public transit on a regular basis in Los Angeles? Okay, so
If it was safe?
well, let's assume that it's safe and that it's much more effective than it's been. Okay, I asked the question because I'm originally from New York City, and the culture in New York is public transit. That is not the culture in Los Angeles. And I'm just wondering if we will fit the description of if they build it, we will come. So I wonder, will we get on public transit if they build it? Because they're changing the land use laws, they're investing trillions of dollars into it, and I'm just wondering if they have an effective bus or effective train and it's safe and it's convenient, will we get on it? And so I think that remains to be seen. I'd love to find out the answer.
All right. Tom?
Thank you, Larry. The answer is it's a smoke screen. Hi, I'm Tom Glenn. First of all, Happy New Year, Happy 2026 to everybody. I'm the chair of the Land Use Committee, and Larry's going to start helping and getting more involved with that with me. But I did have one question for everybody in the audience. Any University of Indiana alumni in the audience? Anybody from?
My son.
Oh, good.
Remarkable season.
Go Hoosiers. So I just wanted to know.
Thank you, Tom.
I'm John Isaac. I'm the treasurer of the association.
Thank you, John. This is our great board. Howard, you want to come? So this is our board, and if any of these committees strike a chord with you guys, if you want to get involved, please go up to those folks that are chairing these committees. We'd love to have you on board. Our 3 new board members were elected. We didn't volunteer that. They were elected. And they were elected though because they did something and have been doing something for the community, for us for a long time. So we'd love to have all your involvements as well. So this is Howard. He is president of what?
The Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council. I'll be happy to follow you in that we have our board meetings in this room. Our next one will be on February 9th. You're all invited. And I'm sure you're going to be delighted and enjoy our guest speaker tonight here at SOHA. If you do come here February 9th, you can hear from her again. We're very pleased to see her. But no, I just want to say, in tandem with what you're talking about with the Chipotle Transit Corridor project, this has been long in coming. And I know the arduous task that both Bob, Maria, and Jeff, as well as others, have been involved in. And SOHA and SOM came to an agreement, a meeting of the minds, as it were. That just shows you the power when Sherman Oaks comes together through our community-based organizations. And further to that, we can move mountains, but in this case, we can just drill right through. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So we have some field deputies come on up, and if you can make it quick what your announcements are, because we want to get to Hydee. And we do not have any senior lead officers here tonight. Jose Saldana has officially retired, so his replacement is in the works right now. Hopefully he's going to be at the meeting next month. I'll let you guys know. He's going to come as a civilian, and we can give a little thank you to him because he was absolutely fantastic. Captain Zine is out of town on work. He texted me this morning a couple times actually to cover a couple things, but I'm not going to because we want to get to Hydee. But he says everything is great. You guys are doing a great job of helping the police department.
I promise I'll make it quick. Hi everyone, Katie Abrams, the Field Deputy for Supervisor Horvath's office. I just wanted to let you know about some small business and entrepreneurship grants that have opened from the Department of Economic Opportunity. There are 2. One is $2,000 for entrepreneurs and small business owners that graduated from the Department's Economic Mobility Initiative. The other is $5,000 for businesses launching in non-retail commercial spaces and $10,000 for businesses launching in retail commercial spaces with a storefront. And then beyond that, because I figured this will apply to you, there's also a sidewalk vending cart program that will be opening, and it will only be for people vending in the unincorporated or LA City, so that should apply over here. There's carts available and support from the departments available. So if that's any interest, I will send over some further guidelines and application details, and if you have any questions, please reach out.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm a field representative with, my name is Anthony Thornton. I'm a field representative with the Senator Nick Schultz's office. I'm just going to give you a quick update what's going on in Sacramento and in the district. So first, the governor has said there will be about a $3 billion deficit, but the Legislative Analysis Office does their own estimate, and those figures are up to $18 billion to the deficit. As the chair of public safety, the Senator has introduced a bill to strengthen penalties on repeat DUI offenders. And just going on in the district, if anybody needs help with state agencies, you can reach out to the office and I'll be glad to help. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Welcome. $18 billion deficit. And where's our governor today? Yeah, poking the bear. Yeah, he's really paying attention to us here in California. Wow. Hydee, you want to come on up? Is Tamara still here? There you go. Stand up. So Tamara Galatsi, you guys all remember Tamara? No? Come on, you guys. Tamara was our rep in the city attorney's office. I think she's the, how many meetings did you come to, SOHA meetings, before you got?
I missed 3 meetings in 17 years.
Wow. 3 meetings in 17 years she missed. So she's still with Hydee's office, but I thought we haven't seen her in a while. We miss you. And I'm sorry.
Mark Ross.
Mark Ross. Mark, stand up. Mark, you're going to come down to one of these meetings, right? Okay. So Mark is with the city attorney's office, and Hydee has assigned him to Sherman Oaks. So Tamara did. Okay. Hydee did because he is a real sharp guy. And so when we have issues in Sherman Oaks, this is our guy. It's not just Sherman Oaks, it's his area, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the whole valley.
It's the whole valley, but please say Sherman Oaks. I know. But anyway, welcome. All right. So, where's Kevin? I didn't see him.
Right here.
Hey, Kevin. Stand up. Kevin James, everybody. You remember his movies? That's right.
All work, all come.
Exactly. What does he do? What do you do, Kevin?
I'm working with Hydee right there.
I know you have. You've been working with Hydee since you got elected, right? That's right. So he's in the city attorney's office. He actually runs it. All the heavy lifting. Are you standing up or sitting down?
I am standing up.
All right.
That's the only way I can see over the table.
All right, good. All right, now, that wasn't my question. Actually, that was Tom Blix. Tom Blix said, start with a joke. All right. So, Hydee, welcome back. I know it's been a very easy year for you. You were here last year.
I was here in the spring,
You were
just about a year ago.
Okay, good. And 2026 it's an election year for you, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And I'm sure because you're doing such a great job, you're running unopposed, right?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Okay, we're going to get into that. But tell us a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about you've got a great bio. So I know it, but let's tell us about you. Tell us what gets you going and keeps you going.
Well, I have a lot of friends in the room, but for those of you who don't know me, nací criada en San Juan, Puerto Rico. I am actually the first Latina elected to citywide office in the city of LA. Matt stole the first part of my speech because I was going to tell you you can't do this job by yourself. I'm the first woman to hold the position as well. And I have a great team, and 3 of them are here. But you've already met them, so we'll move on from that. It's all good. I have lived in Los Angeles since 1982. And one of the things that I like to say is there's very few cities in the world where a 4'11" Puerto Rican Jewish female with no family, no friends, and no connections could come to the city and build a life, and build a career, and raise her family, and make friends, and be part of the community. And then, God forbid, rise to be the elected city attorney for the entire city. I really was in private practice for many years, and I never was attracted to politics. And I ran for office for the first time at the age of 62. Listen, I'm aging myself. And I ran, there was a push and a pull. And the push was I thought the city was broken. When I took office, my office had been raided by the FBI. We had 5 or 6 senior lawyers under investigation by federal authorities. We had one lawyer wearing an ankle bracelet at home, the former head of my litigation department, who actually had filed a Form 700 showing that he had taken referral fees from a law firm that frequently sued the city. There were a lot of issues within my own office. It really had not been managed by one person for probably 25 years. And I'm happy and proud to say that I landed without bringing a whole team with me, unless you count Kevin James as a whole team. Which, as people say, he ran against Garcetti, and Garcetti hired him. He ran against me, and I hired him, so he must be doing something right. And Tamar and Mark, who you see in the back, are former neighborhood prosecutors. I had no choice when I took office but to alter the way business was done, because the rules of professional responsibility had changed in 2018, and there was a Rule 3.8 that was promulgated in 2021, and the idea of having folks who are really creative and really good at problem solving coming to meetings like this. Now, this one's responsible, not suggesting SOHA would have ever done this, but around the city what you might get is you might get somebody complaining about Jane Smith, the hoarder, and then my neighborhood prosecutor would go back to a police station and talk to the detectives about let's go investigate the hoarder, and then my neighborhood prosecutor would decide what charges to bring and prosecute. And having all of those functions in the same person, in my opinion, was running the risk of not necessarily complying with the rules of professional responsibility that had just been adopted. So that was one issue. The second issue was that my office is the same size as it was in 1998, okay? It is the same size that it was in 2004, and it is the same size that it was in 2015. My workload, the workload of this office, has doubled approximately every 7 to 8 years. In the last 5 years, the workload has increased by about 20%, year over year over year. And not only have I not gotten additional authorized positions, but we were in a hiring freeze for something over a year. So the office has actually shrunk in size. We are now hiring, so if you know anybody who wants to come work for the city attorney, please, we're trying to fill our coffers. And so I'm very proud of the team that we have. We've lived through a lot of resignations and a lot of retirements. People have worked very hard. Coming back from COVID, there was a huge backlog and a huge workload. Coming back from COVID was sort of like culture shock because everybody had gotten used to teleworking 5 days a week. And so we've had to really make some adjustments. We formed a new public rights branch for consumer protection and environmental justice and all kinds of things. We have flooded the courthouses with more prosecutors and more litigators. So we've cut the backlog of prosecution cases from when I took office by about half. We have partnered on a number of issues in public safety with the district attorney or the former U.S. attorney. So I don't know how many of you have heard about the work we've done on the sex trafficking of minors. We started on the Figueroa Quarter, and we've rescued over 200 young people. We have sent out over 2,000 Dear John letters. Does anyone know what a Dear John letter is?
Yes.
You're a John? That's not a good thing. I arrest Johns. The work we brought to the Figueroa Quarter was really focused, it shifted the focus from criminalizing the kids and the victims to going after the buyers, the exploiters, the Johns, and going after the predators and the profiteers who were making money off of sex trafficking. So a Dear John letter is where you take a photograph, you've got a surveillance camera, you capture an automobile with a license plate, and you capture the buyer of services along with the minor next to the car, and you take that photograph and you write a letter. Dear registered owner of the car or vehicle has been seen in an area that is known for human trafficking, sex trafficking of minors specifically. We enclose a picture of your car. Please be more careful in the future. Anybody know who the registered owner usually is? Yeah, absolutely, it's the wife. Absolutely. We've sent out over 2,000 of those letters. And I don't take credit for that. That really is our wonderful Los Angeles Police Department. It's the South Bureau and the 77th Street Station that have been very focused on the work. But it's a very, very effective deterrent. My office has also cited or prosecuted over 200 buyers of sexual services from children. We take child sex abuse very seriously. And we've packaged about 80 felonies and referred it to the DA or the U.S. Attorney. My office can't prosecute felonies. So if you look at my office, what do I do in the criminal arena? We prosecute misdemeanors committed by adults within the city limits of the city of Los Angeles. That's it. If it's a kid or a minor, it goes to the DA. If it's a felony, it goes to the DA. But you'd be surprised at what there is in misdemeanors committed within the city of LA. Domestic violence is a misdemeanor. DUIs and DUIDs are misdemeanors. All of the quality of life and the code violation issues that you raise can either be prosecuted civilly or can be charged as misdemeanors, violations of the short-term rental ordinance, and there's a lot of serious misdemeanors. The most serious one I prosecute is child sex abuse. So I'll tell you what my office has pioneered. Last May was actually the best known case. Anybody here heard of Christopher Rodriguez? Christopher Rodriguez was a preschool teacher for 25 years, who I believe he was in his 40s or 50s, and he had digitally penetrated 3- and 4-year-old children at the Krieger Center at UCLA. The case, you might say, why was it in my office? Why a misdemeanor? Okay, there were 5 children. That should have been a felony. The case was presented to our former district attorney, George Gascon's office, and the policy at the district attorney's office is they will not prosecute without corroborating evidence based on the testimony of a 3- or 4-year-old. That you either need DNA evidence or you need an unrelated adult to testify that they saw something happen. So we took the case, 5 little kids, 2 little boys, 3 little girls, and you charged the cases, and the first time you did it, it was a misdemeanor, and it was a mistrial. The jury did not convict. So my prosecutors were incredibly upset. They're very creative, resourceful, fabulous lawyers who care desperately about kids. And everybody got together and sat down and said, what did we do wrong as an office? And they figured out what they did wrong was they put on the children first for the emotional impact and then the experts afterwards, so the jury had no way of judging the kids as they were testifying. So we said, okay, we'll try it again, and we did. We switched it up. We put the experts on first, so they could say, this is how little kids testify when they've been abused, and we put the children on second. We got convictions on 9 out of 14 counts, and the only reason we didn't get the others is one little boy ran out of the courtroom crying. He couldn't bring himself to disclose on the stand. But we got 9 convictions. We asked the court to award the maximum sentence for each charge and then to run the sentences consecutively. So even though I'm a misdemeanor prosecutor with 1 year that I can usually incarcerate, we got 7.5 years in prison, 4 years on probation, supervised probation after that, plus sex offender registry, plus a keep away order to keep them away from kids for 18 years. So that was a good result. Very briefly, last year, wildfires. I focused on price gouging, curfew violations. The looting went to the DA, the charity fraud and the money and the aid went to the AG, okay? And a lot of the arson investigation, as you now all know, went to the U.S. Attorney. My enforcement activities were somewhat limited. We focused on disaster relief. We participated in the West Side Pavilion. We had a booth there. We helped people get legal documents, get connected to services, and fill out forms. We went from the joy of the wildfires and disaster recovery, and yes, I'm getting sued left and right. And no, we're not that worried about the litigation because there is a fair amount of sovereign immunity for firefighter activity. And the fire was not started by the DWP. I mean, the one time we really get hit on fires is when we cause it, and we didn't cause this one. We went from that to the budget crisis, and facing $1 billion shortfall in a government entity that does not have the ability to print money is always a challenge. It was, of course, the mayor and city council's challenge much more than mine, but I think it affected all of us. And then we got to June. But I do want to talk about this because I don't care where you come from on the political spectrum. And I don't care how strongly we believe that the federal authorities have the power and ability to enforce immigration laws within our city limits. How many people in this room have seen what happened when the federal government marched into Los Angeles on June 6th with 4,000 National Guard and 800 Marines? How many people in this room actually witnessed what they do when they roll out onto the streets and they start rounding up people as if they were baleen whales in the ocean and the people were krill? Okay? I had a bird's eye view. I sit at City Hall East. And looking down, and it wasn't as if our federal agents were going into the projects in South LA and picking up MS-13 gang members. I mean, it wasn't as if there was a concerted effort to rid us of the criminal element that I think we all need to get out of our city. This was going into workplaces after hardworking people. What is a 52-year-old seamstress going to do? Throw her sewing machine at them? And it was really a shock to me. I had not seen that kind of military force. I never thought I would imagine it in Los Angeles. And I had been not one of the people who had been at the forefront of fighting for the sake of fighting. I don't believe in that. I believe in righting wrongs and being effective. And I don't believe in trying to countermand elections by legal action. But when we saw what we saw on the streets of LA, immediately on June 7th, I called the Attorney General, and I have focused the litigation on 3 things. One is the National Guard and the Marines. I don't want them on our streets. It's not right, okay? It is not right to have the military turned against our citizens. The second thing I focused on really is grants, because the federal government was threatening to take away all of the Los Angeles grants. Let me tell you what that means as we head for the Olympics. It means highway transportation funds. It means airport funds. It means housing dollars that we need from HUD. And it means really the lifeblood of how our city operates, because we can't print money. Californians send more taxes to the federal government than we get back in block grants. I think the federal government has the absolute right to put conditions on discretionary grants. I didn't go after that. But when you're talking about the constitutionally allocated block grants, neither our state nor our city can survive and provide essential services without that. So I did focus on that. And then the third thing was on the sovereignty of the city and the state itself, our ability to control our local law enforcement. I have spent an awful lot of time this year, since the summer, devoted to litigation matters against the city and devoted to community and quality of life issues. So specifically in Sherman Oaks, I think most of the calls I get from here are on party houses and late night noise. I give Tamar an awful lot of credit because it's usually her group who gets those calls and responds to it. So through the Community Law Corps, which is headed by Tamar Galotson, we shut down, I don't know what to call it. It was a noisy party house and short-term rental on Natick Avenue. Anybody around here in the room familiar with that particular one? It was a party house where the owners had in effect lifted a permit from an online site, and CLC talked to both the owners' lawyers, and they pledged to stop all short-term rentals, which I think resolved that problem. In September of this year, we helped with another renter hosting late-night parties on Glenridge Drive. We hosted a meeting, and since our second meeting with them in December of 2024, we haven't gotten any more reports of loud parties or music. So if anybody lives on Glenridge Drive, do I have anybody here? Okay, hopefully that one's fixed. We also dealt with the Notre Dame High School, where there was an awful lot of disturbance in the neighborhood just from music, and they've agreed to restrict their hours and turn down the volume. And we've brought a number of actions against platforms like the Nightfall Group, there was a gang of folks that were basically renting RSO units long-term and then renting them out short-term for party houses. I was asked to talk about SB 79. How many people in this room know that I was the very first elected official to submit an opposition to SB 79 unless it was opposed or amended? Everybody in the room know what SB 79 is? Okay, then I won't go into it.
Do it briefly for the folks that are home and for the folks that don't know.
SB 79 is a bill from Sacramento that basically it's from Senator Scott Wiener, and it supersedes all local zoning and ordinances, and it would simply permit the construction of high-density housing. It's got a formula, but if you overlap it on the map of Los Angeles, it's everywhere. Sherman Oaks would be gone. There are very few neighborhoods, and it specifically targeted single-family residential, low-density, R1, R2 zones. I have tried to explain this till I'm blue in the face, and I don't think San Francisco understands it. We are not San Francisco. So if you take the way we are laid out, we're laid out in neighborhoods, we're laid out on grids, our services follow that pattern. So if you think about the way our trash collection works, it relies on the free labor of residents. You and I carry our trash cans in and out, and our trash is picked up by a small city truck with one employee that has an arm that picks up the cans. That's how our trash gets picked up in 4 and under units. The minute you get to 5 units or commercial, you have the big blue dumpsters. And the big blue dumpsters, you have 3 employees on a large truck, and they come around and they have to back end load it. And it's an entirely different process. 2 of the employees have to pull out the dumpster and then put it back. What happens on a single-family residential neighborhood when you put down an 80-unit building in the middle of the block? Who picks up the dumpsters? It's worse than that. If you think about how we're laid out, the commercial quarters or the high-density neighborhoods have 70-foot wide streets, or they have alleys behind where the trash cars can come. We can't absorb that kind of a density, piecemeal all over the city. Our trash collection runs on routes. All of a sudden, you don't have a route, okay? It's this hodgepodge of chaos. If you think about our electrical distribution, if you go to the big distribution facility on La Cienega, okay, that's I don't know how many millions of cajillions of volts. But if you look at the overhead lines, the electrical distribution steps down. So most of the commercial quarters, most of the high-density neighborhoods, the nearest pole for electricity has a large box that's anywhere from 40 to 90,000 volts. By the time it steps down to a single family, an R1 or a R2 zone, the box, the electricity that gets carried is between 2 and 4,000 volts. That's enough to power approximately 28 to 50 units for the whole block. What happens when you plant the high-density unit there? Because it isn't just a question of changing the transmission box on your corner. Because of the way the electricity steps down, you in effect have to replace the electricity all the way back to the main distribution center. Our city can't afford that. And the problem is that when you have a development by right, You can't even charge impact fees. There's nobody to pay for it. And so the city would wind up broke. I have lots of other stories. I haven't even touched like school services. Our sewer lines, the main water mains that go underneath the freeways in the large commercial corridors, that's designed to handle density. If you live in the hillside, you've got this teeny tiny little pipe for your water and for your wastewater going back out. We can't dig up our streets just to accommodate, you know, a building that's dense because that's where the developer can make the most money. And we have an obligation as a city to really render services. And I can get into some of the problems we've had with delivery of services. But I saw that and I thought, okay, home rule is an argument, but the courts have upheld the power of Sacramento to invade charter cities and override local control under home rule on the grounds that homelessness is an emergency. I have a hard time as to how we can have an emergency for 40 years. At that point, it sort of becomes normal to me, but what do I know? So I really had a lot of research done, and I found a rather obscure part of the law that allows you to file an administrative claim in Sacramento for unfunded mandates. And I said I was going to bring that lawsuit. I'm telling you right here and right now, and Kevin can speak to it better. Kevin does all my legislation in Sacramento, and we're going to need help this year. Because the first thing that Senator Scott Wiener did when he came back this year was he put in a cleanup bill. A cleanup bill to 79 that would shut down my ability to challenge the unfunded mandate. So we've got to fight that, and we've got to come together, and we've got to stop letting Sacramento and Northern California tell us how to live, because we can't live by their standards. Our services, our city, our communities are not set up for it. So I wear many hats in the city. One of them is I do go to Sacramento on a regular basis to try to do things to make our city better. I took 5 bills to Sacramento last year. 3 of them were signed into law by the governor. 2 of them were public safety bills. You can't get public safety bills through Sacramento very easily, but they were bills that made some sense. We've got 3 bills that we're taking back to Sacramento this year, and we're just trying in each case to focus on the issues that are important to Los Angeles. Sacramento sometimes feels very far away, and so I think that it's a service to my city for me to serve as your voice in Sacramento and try to blunt the edge of some of what they do. Although I was the first elected official to come out against SB 79, I'm proud to say that through intense advocacy, primarily from all of you, but yes, as the Shake and Bake ad says, and I helped, City Council voted to oppose SB 79, and the mayor signed that as well. So the city of Los Angeles was united. That's why I think the bill only passed by 1 vote. I think it's going to be very hard for them to shut down the ability for us to fight on an unfunded mandate, but we're going to have to take up the legislative fight again. I don't know what else outside counsel. Can I talk for a minute about outside counsel?
Yeah, go ahead.
As I said earlier in this, I have the same number of legal professionals I had in 1998, and I had many, many times the workload. Technology helps some, because in 1998 I didn't have a lot of technology, but all I can tell you is my technology is either from 1998 or from 2010. Okay, I don't have modern technology. So it does help, but it doesn't help nearly as much as it can or it should. In a perfect world, I would always need outside counsel for some things, okay? When the city is facing a criminal investigation, for example, we don't do criminal defense work. And we're never gonna staff for that because we don't have it often enough that it's worth spending money to get really good lawyering in that area. There are some fairly specialized areas of the law, for example, the FAA. The airport tends to hire a lot of outside counsel. DWP tends to handle a lot of outside regulatory counsel. who understand power and water and things like that. And you're always going to have the enormous Bedford City kinds of cases. The wildfires litigation is one of those. The Hyperion spill was another one of those. And candidly, the Alliance lawsuit in front of Judge Carter is another one of those. I will spend a second on Gibson, Dunn, and Crutcher and the Alliance lawsuit, because I think it's important that everybody understand it from my perspective. I took office in December of 2022. The Alliance case was settled. It was settled. I had a settlement agreement. I didn't pay the slightest bit of attention to it. When a case is settled, I figured the city's going to comply. And I just kept doing my thing, and I had litigators kind of monitoring and handling it in-house. The first time I knew anything about it was February of 2024, when I got hit with a motion for $6.5 million of sanctions and attorney's fees, because it wasn't granted, Joan. They did grant about $1.8 million, but it wasn't 6.5. And the judge said we weren't complying with our obligations. Now, because the settlement agreement had been agreed to before I took office, and I don't personally know, I stipulated, I said, okay, let's find out whether or not I'm complying with my obligations. The judge wanted an outside auditor. I said, okay. I took it to council. We agreed to pay for it. It was going to be here you go. We paid $3.2 million, okay, for what was supposed to be an audit. It wasn't. It was an assessment. It expressly says on the front page, this was not conducted in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles or generally accepted government auditing standards or anything else. It was just some company's opinion of our homelessness programs. And most of the criticism was leveled at LASA, not at the city. And they did find a few things where they didn't think we reported it right. But by and large, we took the report, we said, thank you very much. We read the recommendations. We started trying to implement them. The problem when the city settles over, with obligations over 5, 10, 15, 20 years, is that you then have law firms and professionals whose interest it is to come back to court and find things wrong so that they can collect legal fees and so that they can extend the time and so they have a captive client. So after we got this report, the wildfires hit in January, and in February, these plaintiffs' lawyers came back seeking a receiver over my city. The receivership, and there was a lot of back and forth as to who the receiver would be, and the receivership, from my prior experience as a finance lawyer and as a bankruptcy lawyer, would have cost the city a minimum of $1 million a month for the receiver. That doesn't even count the receiver's professionals and lawyers and whatever. And it would have cost us money with having a receiver and the judge telling us what to do on homelessness. And you may say the city's a failure, you may say our elected officials don't know what we're doing on this, but here's the bottom line. An appointed, lifelong district court judge with zero experience in the real world or the public sector or policy isn't the right person to become a homelessness czar for a city of 4 million people, where you have no controls, you can't vote them out of office, and you have a for-profit receiver basically running the policy. Given the experience with the auditor that I had agreed to, with $3.2 million plus $1.8 million in legal fees, given the prospect of a receiver, we tried to handle it by first saying, we'll just brief the case. Let's see if you even have the power to do a receiver. So we briefed that, and I thought we would win. Instead, the judge set a hearing. And so with 5 days to go before a 2-day evidentiary hearing, where I realized that this court had very little respect for my office, very little respect for the city, and we were never going to prevail, no matter how right we were. I threw a Hail Mary. I interviewed 3 law firms. I did pick Gibson, Dunn, and Crutcher, and that was largely because there was Gibson, Dunn, who had won the Grants Pass case in the Supreme Court. They had gotten the decision of the Ninth Circuit overturned on the Grants Pass provisions of homelessness, And I needed somebody who I thought could hold the district court to legal standards and be afraid of a reversal on appeal. They got hired 5 days before the evidentiary hearing was supposed to start. It was supposed to be a 2-day hearing. The judge, without any warning, turned it into a 3-week trial with 16 witnesses. Gibson Dunn, without taking a deposition, without serving an interrogatory, without any discovery, without any time to prepare, came at it and solved the problem. They literally held everybody in that courtroom to the highest standards of professionalism and kept bringing people back to the law. This isn't about emotion. This isn't about we all want to clean up our streets. This is about the sovereignty of the city and whether or not we wind up with a federal district court judge who wants to do things his way. We prevailed. To this day, whatever I spent on Gibson Dunn is a fraction of what it would have cost my city to have a receiver appointed for even 6 months. And once the receiver got in there, I was going to be in that court under a receivership, under somebody's thumb for years. 4 years. City council did get angry at the fact that we initially asked for $900,000, because remember, that was a 2-day evidentiary hearing. And when it turned to a 3-week trial, Gibson had no choice but to throw lawyers at it, because we had 16 witnesses, and the only way we got through it is they had a lawyer for almost every witness. So one lawyer would take 2 witnesses or something, and that's how we got through trial. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of catching up. And so I'm actually incredibly proud of the work that they did. Our 2 lead trial lawyers did great. When council was looking for a way to bridge the gap, I did agree to freeze some of my budget. I froze some senior positions, and some of my people didn't get promotions because I had to pay $1 million over to Gibson out of my budget. But I can tell you again, it was worth it. I would do it again. And what the judge has done now is we were supposed to have a 2-day evidentiary hearing in November, and we've been again in trial for 2 to 3 weeks. And it's almost, I mean, as I will say this publicly, we have got to keep up the good fight. Because the result is otherwise, if we don't continue to preserve the ability to appeal and get a reversal, we will wind up with a receivership over a municipality, and that is a displacement of our system of government and our charter that as the city attorney, I simply cannot allow.
Can you name the judge?
I'm sorry? I can name the judge. It's United States District Court Judge David Carter. I think he cares deeply about the issues, let's leave it at that. But he also does not have, in my opinion, an appropriate sense of the limited jurisdiction of a federal district court judge. And that, unfortunately, creates more problems than solutions, because that is not an area that is designed to help homelessness. I've done a lot on homelessness since I took office. I opened up the first outdoor court in the city of Los Angeles. What we do is we go outdoors. You know why? Homeless folks don't want to come to court to pay their tickets and take care of their legal problems because they have to leave their belongings and their pets and their children outside. And so when someone is unsheltered, you have to create an environment where they can come take care of their legal problems. We do that. Third Thursday of every month from 9 to noon. There's a prosecutor in my office by the name of Cynthia Gonzalez who goes to court outdoors. We partner with the public defender's office. We have a magistrate or a judge. But what's much more important is if someone's willing to get straight and clean up their lives, we have service providers all the way around. We connect them with Section 8 vouchers. We connect them with housing. We connect them with mental health training, with addiction services, with the things that they need to get off the street. And that's been an important part of the work that I brought to the office. Taking the time to get people indoors is great. But the other controversy, and I will say this out loud, We cannot have affordable housing that isn't built affordably. If you're spending $1 million or $1.2 million or $1.4 million per unit, a 400 square foot studio, like we were in Venice with Venice Gal, okay, you're never gonna be able to build your way out of this problem. We don't have that kind of money. And so bringing it back to basics, keeping it real at the level of the construction, making sure that we are building appropriate housing and all kinds of housing, interim housing, workforce housing, but not just permanent supportive housing with 7-figure units within walking distance of the beach or next door to, CD8, I think, has given more affordable housing units than any other district in the city. We do have to have affordability across the entire city, but we also have to be able to build it affordably. And we have to be able to partner to do so without just the city throwing money at the problem. We have a new head of our housing department. If you haven't met her, she's fabulous, Tina Johnson-Hall. She's very good, and she's very focused and refocused on how you create units at an affordable price to get people off the street. Those were, I think, all the topics that I have been asked to cover, but I will take questions.
We have a few questions for you. So first off, let me just address what you just said, though, because we have a couple of questions on this. But if this city of Los Angeles had 70,000 affordable housing units available today, would the homeless issue be resolved? No, because the people that are on the streets are either mentally ill, drug addicted, or alcohol addicted. So you keep saying, and all the electeds keep saying, we need more affordable housing, we need more affordable housing. What's the real answer to the homeless issue?
Well, you didn't hear me say that. I said we need all kinds of housing, but that's a separate issue. I do think we need, me personally, care courts has not worked. I think that we do need the ability to establish a conservatorship for people who clearly cannot take care of themselves. That is a Sacramento issue. And again, I'm happy to take up a bill and I'm happy to work on that. We need the county to step up. Okay, the county pulled out of LAHSA. The county said, oh, we're going to form our own homelessness committee. I don't know if Supervisor Horvath's person is still in the room, but I would challenge you, please, to step forward and devote more money to mental health services and to really programs that help people get off the streets. People all too often say you have to meet people where they are. Okay, I agree with that. I want to meet people where they are because I want to help them. But that doesn't mean I stay down there and enable them. Okay, that means you help uplift people and you give them a path forward to get someplace where they can help themselves. That does mean job training. It's mental health, it's addiction, it's tattoo removal, it's education, it's apprenticeship, it's training. If you look at the time we've spent into reintegrating the recently incarcerated into our society, which we have, we've devoted tons of resources to that. I challenge us to do the same thing for victims. For the kids that I'm rescuing off the Figueroa corridor, I challenge us to pay as much attention to that as we do to the recently incarcerated, and to take our unsheltered population and help them get someplace safe.
Okay, Susan Collins has a question. Susan's over here. During the past few years, protests have been made violent and destructive. When Mayor Bass is asked why people aren't being, I can't read this, are not being held accountable, she blames your office and says prosecuting people falls under your duties. Considering that the mayor has issued stand-down orders to the police during the protest, what types of assistance is she providing to your office to help you hold your people accountable?
Well, let me first say that I still have lunch with the mayor about once a week, and we have a good working relationship, so I don't want to turn this into the mayor versus the city attorney. We're pretty supportive of each other because we have to be. City government has to work for all of you, and if we're not working together, that doesn't get done. I take exception to the fact that I don't prosecute protesters. My predecessor had a policy that he would not prosecute protesters. To be clear, I don't prosecute people for standing on a street corner and shouting. That is absolutely your right, unless it's a violation of a noise ordinance. But what I do is the protesters who shut down the freeway, the 110 in rush hour, I prosecuted 30 of them. I faced 3 what's called Morgia motions, where the lawyers accused me of prosecuting them only because they were pro-Palestinian, not because they were creating a public safety hazard and shutting down the freeway at rush hour. It took me, 6 months to beat back the concept that as, I guess, a Jew, I am automatically biased against Palestinian protesters. I'm not. I've been a lifelong pro-choice activist. I prosecuted an abortion rights activist because she changed herself to a building and spray painted it and committed vandalism, okay? I don't prosecute the content of the speech. I prosecute conduct. So whatever your content of speech is, have fun at it, okay? Scream it and yell it and do whatever you want on the sidewalk. If you shut down my freeways, you will be prosecuted. If you vandalize the buildings, you will be prosecuted. If you throw Molotov cocktails or frozen water bottles or chunks of concrete or anything at my police officers, you will be prosecuted. And I do prosecute those who are criminals.
Okay, Larry Slade, Larry in the back. So he asked, many Americans believe that the Department of Justice is no longer independent from the executive branch. Do you agree, and are you independent from the mayor's office and the city council? If so, can you give us examples of your independence?
I am independent from both the mayor's office and the city council, and probably the best example of that is that city council accuses me of being the mayor's lawyer, and the mayor accuses me of being city council's lawyer, so there you go. I'm not going to comment on the Department of Justice, okay? I'm not there, and I have friends there, and they all do their thing. I ran for this office precisely to be an independent elected. Okay, I have a charter commission who wants to split up my office, in my humble opinion, because I didn't do what they wanted me to do on a matter or 2 or 3. They specifically cited the Venestell project at their $1.2 million a unit as a reason why I was being political. I wasn't being political. I was looking at a project that was another disaster. Okay, they valued 3 acres of land in Venice at $3 million. $3 million. Okay, we are now being investigated by the federal government for an appraisal in connection with a Shelby project that involved a developer and the Weinberg Foundation, or Sainter, don't remember which one. And it was based on an appraisal that was fraudulent. And so when I see an appraisal that raises those kinds of issues, it calls into question the entire theory. And if we're giving away 3 acres of public land on the basis of a $3 million appraisal, when the developer themselves put in a financing application to the state of California that the land was worth $25 million, and when the appraisers that we hired said the land was worth between $25 and $55 million, I got a problem with the project, okay? I just do, folks. I didn't run for this office to do business same old, same old. I am a bit of a disruptor. So I've been enforcing the competitive bidding procedures of the city charter. I've been enforcing the certifications that the people who sign off on city contracts have no financial stake in the contract or in the business on the other side. I do it quietly. I'm not interested in investigating my client or embarrassing anybody. I think some of the time it's ignorance, but some of the times it's grift. And I'm here to put a stop to it.
So this independent charter reform commission is independent, right? It's rewriting the Constitution of the city of Los Angeles. That's what their purpose is, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. One of their ideas that they're floating and that they want to do is they want to take the city attorney's office and make that an appointment, not an elected office. Is that correct?
Yes. Look, last Saturday, they came up with 4 ideas that, especially if you take them together, are a radical transformation of our city, and it is the playbook that Montagne used in New York. Okay, so let's wake up, folks. Let's pay attention to the charter. Here are the 4 things that they want. They want to take the city council from 15 members to 25. That supposedly that will make it more democratic. I don't know how to say this. That just lessens the incentive of any council member, and it just really creates a situation where you have 25 little fiefdoms, and it separates our residents. They want to do and implement ranked choice voting. People can differ on that. I'm not a fan. I'm also not going to make it my crusading issue. They want to abolish neighborhood councils and the entire Department of Gun. They put that in their proposals, and yes, they want to split my office. They want a city attorney who will be a pet lawyer, okay, for the other electeds. You have no checks and balances if what you do is you have a city attorney who's, whatever a politician says, mother may I, the only answer is, oh, of course you may. So from my perspective, the minute you take away the power from you, the people, the minute you make my office unelected, you in effect lose that independent voice. You in effect lose the championship of the city as a whole and of the people. You have a series of little fiefdoms fighting as amongst themselves and forming transactional alliances. I'll vote for your bills if you vote for mine. And you don't have the independent voice of an elected city attorney. I don't know why voters would ever think that they should give away their power to vote and replace a bad city attorney to get a city attorney who's beholden to council. They would keep my prosecution arm elected, but can I tell you something? If they split it that way, just give the misdemeanors in the city of LA committed by adults back to the district attorney and let's save ourselves some money. Because you lose the checks and balances, you lose the power of the office. You don't need a second mini DA in LA if that's what it comes to. So if those proposals are on the ballot, I will be actively arguing against them, and I would ask you all to, as I guess Nancy Reagan would say in the early 80s, just say no.
We have a big movement like what happened in New York with the mayor, and we have, I don't like to say DSA because it's, again, they're the Socialist Party. And again,
They say they are not a party. Seriously.
I understand that they say they're not a party, but on the person who's running against you, on their website I looked at today, they have a bunch of endorsements of abundant housing and DSA.
Yes.
Okay, so that's, if it's not a party, I don't know what it is. But it's a group that organizes, that works for their candidates, or that
yes.
looks to get their candidates elected, correct?
Yes, the DSA of Los Angeles has endorsed a slate of candidates as socialist candidates, and one of my opponents is among them.
Okay, and that's your strongest opponent, correct?
I'm sorry?
That's the biggest opponent?
Yes.
And the election's 9 months away?
No, let's be clear about this. My election is June 2nd.
Oh.
If you think you can vote for me in November, the answer is no, you won't be able to. Because with a field, if you're looking at, for example, what's happening in Ben Allen's seat, there's like 12 candidates. No one's going to win in June. You'll have a chance to vote in November. It might not be for your candidate if you don't vote in June, but you'll have 2 to pick from. In my race, one of us is going to take 50% plus 1 of the votes. And so it's really important. It's a down ballot race. It's a primary. And people are going to think, oh, gee, we can vote for Hydee in November. No, please, come out. I need you in June. I really should.
So you think it's going to be won in the general election?
It's going to be won in the primary.
In the primary?
Absolutely.
Wow. Interesting. Okay.
Absolutely. There isn't enough traction for it to be anything else. If you look at what happened in CD4 the last time, there were 3 candidates, okay? the incumbent won in the primary. That's what I'm hoping happens in my race. The incumbent should win in the primary. There you go.
Okay.
But you have to turn out to vote for me for that to happen.
So let me ask you something that's going to be, a lot of people come to me, some people in this room, I'm sure they don't want to be identified, but a lot of people come to me, and you had brought it up as far as talking about ICE and the enforcement here in Los Angeles, and we see the lawsuits that the attorney up in Sacramento continues to file against Washington, D.C. But you mentioned MS-13, the bad guys. And a lot of folks come up to me and we have discussions about why are we protecting the bad guys?
We're not.
Hold on. Let me tell you what the people said that I talked to. They come up to me, and there's a lot. We incarcerate somebody who is undocumented from a gang, from another country. We put them in our system and we take care of these. We incarcerate these people. And they're undocumented. They're not the guys that don't have sewing machines, but they're guys that are criminals and women. And they're people that are bad criminals. And they've been arrested and they're incarcerated. Why isn't the city of Los Angeles, I know we're a sanctuary city, but what does it do for us to protect these people who don't care about us as citizens? So,
let me,
go ahead.
Okay, because I think you need to parse that out. I was very careful when I spoke. Okay, what I have sued against is what I consider to be unconstitutional tactics. I've sued against withholding money from our city, and I've sued against having military troops and National Guard on my streets when we haven't asked for the help. I have never sued over...
I'm not talking about you suing. I know you haven't sued over that. But I'm asking as far as why aren't our city elected? It's not Hydee, not you, not your city attorney, not our city attorney, but why isn't Karen Bass and our other city council members saying, you know, we have all these bad guys, we know some of these bad guys are American citizens in jail, but the folks that aren't American citizens that are in jail, why can't those people be given up and said, hey, let's if we give you all these guys, will you stop being such jerks and sending people to federal troops in?
I'm going to answer in 3 levels, okay? Because I never say I refuse to answer. But I'm going to start with what is my role. I'm a lawyer, okay? I'm not a policymaker. I'm not part of city council. I'm not the mayor. I enforce the law. If the law is constitutional, I don't pick and choose, okay? When the county health department comes to me and says, oh, we want to open safe injection sites in your city, which they did, and they said, we want to have this space where people can come shoot up safely, we don't want you to prosecute. I said, that's not my choice. I enforce the law. I don't care what the law is, if it's constitutional, I enforce it. So that's the punt answer, okay? The second answer, because I believe in dialogue, is that there are a number of immigrant communities there. People have, and people have lived here, and I want to leave violent criminals for the last, okay? People have lived here for 50 years, for better or worse.
Yeah.
This administration has challenged green card holders. This administration has challenged birthright citizenship. I am a Puerto Rican. I am a citizen by birth. But I was born on an island that is a commonwealth and is not a state. So someone like me, I'm not terribly at risk, but with some of the rhetoric that has been going around, there are an inordinate number of us, Latinos, okay, who do feel threatened. When a justice of the Supreme Court says it is enough if you look Latina and you speak Spanish to be stopped, to be detained, to be zip-tied, to be taken to a detention center, and that is what Justice Kavanaugh said, if you read the opinion. As I say in Spanish, yo soy Latina, yo hablo español, ¿Qué quiere decir eso? Que pueden empezar conmigo. I just said, for translation, I am Latina, I speak Spanish, and so what does that mean? You're gonna start with me? And so we have to, as a country, speak to each other. We have to, as a country, try to understand one another. And for better or worse, our city and our county has, I would say, 4 million individuals who are of mixed status families, where someone in the family is undocumented. And so the tenor of the city is to protect our immigrant communities and to find a path to citizenship. When President Reagan implemented the immigration policies that he did, he coupled it with amnesty and with a path to citizenship. And that blunts some of the crackdown for law-abiding citizens. The last part of the question that you asked, which is the hardest to answer, but I will try to answer it, and I'm not saying I believe this, okay? I'm pretty much a prosecutor and part of law enforcement. So I'm not speaking in my voice, but I am trying to speak in the voice of those who want to protect people equally. And if you think about it, we want to encourage human beings to come forward and report crime to law enforcement. We do not want our police having to beat the bushes to find witnesses to a crime because no one will come out and attest to it because they're afraid of contact with law enforcement because they're afraid they'll be deported. We don't want our laws to be perceived as unfair because this one who commits a crime gets 4 years in jail with half off for good probation, and that one who commits the same crime gets 4 years in jail and then gets deported back to a country of origin that that individual has not seen for, 2 years is easy, but 20 years or 50 years. And I do know, for example, one woman who is terrified. She's showing up for immigration hearings all the time. She was born in Chile. She was brought to this country at the age of 4. She has paid her taxes. She has worked in this country, and she's now 60. 60, and she knows no one in Chile. And every time she shows up in immigration court, she is convinced she's going to be taken away and swept. And so I'm trying to speak responsibly, but we do need to understand each other. And this issue of immigration in a county where at least a third of your population either is undocumented or has a relative or family member who's undocumented or has a neighbor who's undocumented or has an employee who's undocumented. This is a problem that we have to approach from a humanitarian and a kind and a wise policy perspective. Do I think that a guy who's beaten somebody up in a felony 6 times should be let go when he attacks somebody a 7th time? Absolutely not. Do I think he should be let go if he's a citizen? No. Do I think he should be let go if he's an immigrant? No. But I do believe that the rule of law, insofar as we want to encourage all of our people to participate in our legal system, should treat people equally. Because otherwise you wind up with what you had before Chief Gerald Gates implemented Rule 40 in the LAPD. This rule of saying we will not deport immigrants for committing the same crime as other people, that's the job of ICE. That's not the job of local law enforcement. This rule was actually implemented by Chief Gerald Gates in 1979. Why? Because the immigrant communities and pockets of Los Angeles were becoming ungovernable because nobody would talk. None of the undocumented people would come forward and say anything about crime. And so this was done as a way of saying, don't worry about your immigration status. We need you to help us get the bad guys. We need you to help us get the gays. And that's the best I can explain it. And you may disagree with it. That's fine. You asked me to explain, I explained.
So for those of you who've been asking me, that's the answer. Thank you. I have one other question for you, and this is a law issue that is also a policy issue. There was just something recently passed in California, I believe it was effective as of January 1st, where California says that law enforcement cannot be masked, correct?
Law enforcement.
Law enforcement officers, ICE officers can't wear masks.
Correct.
Okay. So, again, a lot of folks have been, and we brought this up on different forums here before, I think even possibly with you. Would you support legislation, California legislation, that would say if a criminal wore a mask in the commission of a crime, a home burglary, a home invasion robbery, that would be an additional enhancement?
I will do you one better.
Okay.
I don't believe in content-based legislation. I mean, the problem with saying you can't wear a mask in public is we wear masks for COVID.
Okay.
Some religious groups wear masks and mask their faces. We have different standards, and so I think that targeting, whether it be agents or criminals or religious groups, is improper. If we want to say that if you are out in our public thoroughfares, or if you are, whatever it is that we want to say, we have to treat people equally. It's like time, place, and manner with parade permits. You can't say I'm not going to allow.
We're talking about the criminals who are going into businesses, that are going into private homes.
I would support an enhancement. I would even make it a separate offense. That's what I'm telling you.
Make it a separate offense.
I would make it a separate offense.
So would your office carry that bill forward under Sacramento?
I want to vet it and make sure it's constitutional, but assuming that we conclude that it is, yeah.
Should I talk to Kevin with a couple people on that?
Hey, James, you up for this one?
You got it. I've got a bunch of people that would love to see that as in law. Thank you, Kevin.
I carry bills all the time. I've got 3 of them now.
Awesome. Thank you. I think that's it. Do you want to close with anything?
I hope that what you will consider in this election is I am firmly standing in the center. I'm never going to be anybody's perfect lawyer. The far left hates me because I'm not sufficiently, I don't know what to call it. I would have called myself a progressive or a liberal Democrat when I was elected. I can't wear that label anymore because I'm too moderate. I'm not sufficiently, I'm not to the right either. I am a lawyer. I believe in the rule of law. I believe in the equality of our principles. I believe in a just, multi-ethnic, multi-diverse, capitalist, politically free economy. And I believe in a system of political government where we vote at the ballot box all together as Americans. And that is where I hope we can come together even through these most trying times. I thank you for your time and the invitation.
I have one other question for you. Before we file for Hydee, if we can set up a debate between now and June, would you agree to a debate against the folks running for your office?
Yes.
Awesome. Let's hear it for Hydee. Great job. Thank you so much.